Penultimate round of the Diamond Drive Cup's third season brings us to Misano here in Italy. And with the championship hotting up for several of the categories we have on hand here, we expect another fantastic race at Misano. I'm Jesse Lee, joined by Nate as always, and Jedi Jake the Bosmeister Boswell on the cameras as always. And Nate, bringing us in to Misano, it's a love-hate thing for a lot of the teams around here. Some drivers love Misano. I think us as broadcasters love Misano because it's always action-packed, but there's just as many drivers that loathe this particular racetrack.
Yeah, I think as a driver, Jesse, I'm on the fence. I've had a couple of good races here. I've had a couple of bad races here. I still haven't quite made up my mind. There's some really nice parts to the track, but those same parts can also be really, really not nice to you. But yeah, as you said, as commentators, it's fantastic. There's always something going on somewhere, and even if the cars are alone, there's no guarantee they're going to stay pointing in the right direction.
Folks, I'll tell you this, if you don't have anything to do for the next hour and a half of your evening, this is going to be just about the best way to spend it. I can't explain to you why every time RCI, regardless of the series, regardless of the cars, comes here, it's always good. I don't imagine we're going to be breaking that streak today. And of course, the other big thing that we get today, a huge championship fight for silver continuing late into the championship. It's anyone's game, and even if somebody takes a lead here today, I don't feel like they can possibly get out big enough so that next week is irrelevant. So I think the silver championship, at least, is going to go down to the wire.
Yeah, and that's good news for us, Jesse. It's unfortunately, I think we can both kind of put the pro or overall championship to bed. I don't think anyone could possibly stop Anor Rose with walking away with this one. But yeah, as I said, silver, I'm really looking forward to it because we don't have a clear-cut winner at this point. As you said, Jesse, it could go to the next round. I hope it goes to the next round because, as I said, I don't want it to be over just yet.
Yeah, I'm almost certain that silver will not be settled here today. And of course, the previous race where we were left picking up the pieces, we had several different leaders in the silver category, and the same thing with the AM class as well. Today could very much be the same way. Let's talk about Misano a little bit. It's probably the most underrepresented of the Italian tracks we have in ACC, and it's loathed by some and loved by some. I think most people prefer other tracks, however, but from a racing standpoint, from a technical standpoint, you get a little bit of everything here. Technical corners, fast sweeping corners, late braking, trail braking corners, stomping on the brakes for some as well. And pretty much whatever car you have, there's a section of this track that you will likely be the best at.
Yeah, I think as you said, Jesse, there's a part where each car will come alive. I've got a feeling the BMWs and the Bentleys will obviously be really good in the Sector 3 part, that long back straight. But then maybe some of the more nimble cars, such as the McLaren and the Ferrari, will be better in Sectors 1 with that fairly twisty, well, first few corners.
Going to be close for sure. And qualifying up next, right after the final car here of Brock comes across the line. Brock, of course, involved in their own championship battle, and we'll bring that to you after the conclusion of qualifying. Of course, this is the penultimate race, which means next week the 90-minute finale of the Diamond Drive Cup Season 3. But today, the standard 60 minutes, and of course, the 20 minutes of qualifying. All the cars out on the track at the same time, trying to set the quickest lap. A lot of times we come here, Nate, we talk about traffic being an issue. 18 cars out on track today. I don't think it will be an issue today.
No, but, I mean, you say that. If everyone goes out together nose to tail, as they have now, then it's definitely going to be an issue. But, hopefully, everyone will take a deep breath, take their time, separate themselves out on the track, And for the love of everything on four wheels, I hope they don't wait until the final corner to go, actually, I need to make a gap, because that just causes chaos absolutely everywhere else.
Yeah, it sure will. Of course, they're not allowed to slow up in Sector 3, the new rule that governed all the RCI championships and qualifying this new year, or excuse me, this season alone, actually. Now that I think about it, you are not allowed to slow up to make room in Sector 3. You've got to do that elsewhere on the racetrack. They do that to keep from having accidents and bunching up of cars in the final sector. Not really ever been an issue ever since the rule has been implemented. Don't imagine it's going to be an issue today. The last group of cars that were sitting in pit lane are now releasing. They should get out in front of Anor Rose, the Queen's Design 56. And what can you say about a driver like Rose who has just dominated the pro field this season?
Yeah, one thing I can say is that this traffic is absolutely going to get in the way. Someone there very sensibly waiting on the pit apron to allow Anor to go through. Hopefully, this car seems to be not causing any troubles either. But yeah, Jesse, well, what can you say? Doesn't make mistakes, very
Well,
fast, hasn't had any competition. I mean, what other words could we use?
Well, it's been perfect, and Anor is chasing history here. Nobody has ever won every round of a 6-round championship in RCI history. Anor can still do that. Has to win the final 2 races. They've been perfect through the first couple of rounds. First couple, meaning the first 4, rather. So we will see if they can continue that here today. I don't think it's going to be too big of an issue. But then again, we've been surprised before.
Yeah, you know what you've done. You've only gone and done the classic patented Jesse Lee commentator's curse there. We always do this. We always go, oh, absolutely nothing can go wrong now, and something always happens, Jesse. So whatever happens, we're blaming you. That's there's no way away from this now. It's recorded. It's on the vlog. Everything. We've got it all covered. So whatever happens to poor old Rose tonight, be it on your head, Jesse.
Well, the worst part about that is Anor knows where to find me. So that's going to be the first lap done, and none of them have counted thus far. Every single lap invalidated to this point. Will Dove be the first lap? It will. Dove, a 35.232. 6/100ths quicker than Fox. Those are your top 2. Erwin slots in, the only driver in silver to run a lap. And here is Luna in the 66. Back-to-back podiums for Luna, and that is going to be it on that lap, and probably those tires as well. It's getting into 2, taking just a little bit too much speed through that corner, but doesn't make a difference still. Provisional pole 35.162, the Mark II-B. Nearly the entire field, 3/4. No, not 3/4, 2/3 of the field, Nate, invalidated their first lap.
Yeah, which is quite surprising because you can take some royal liberties with track limits at this track. So I can only assume it was I don't know corner names of this track. I'm so sorry, everyone who absolutely loves Misano. The very final fast right-hander, because you absolutely cannot go near the track limits there. The game will absolutely, even if you look at them funny, the game will take away your lap time.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how everyone responds. Anor has responded with a 33.762. That's more like it out of the Esports Pro. And Acosta now second place, 1 second, a full second off of Rose's pace. Fury April backs up their previous lap, 3rd overall, 1st in class. Erwin and Horton are there, and now Yvonne goes provisional pole and 2nd place in the overall in the 147. Keep in mind, they're racing for a class championship. They're also racing for an overall championship as well, as far as I've been told. So there's double championships in the works for somebody you would imagine. Rose, Yvonne, Acosta, the top 3. So now you've got Yvonne Fury April and Sarah Johnson, the top three in silver. McKenna Santos, the only AM driver to have set a lap that is legal thus far, and thus provisional pole for them. Alice Horton down near the bottom of silver, looking to get a little bit further up the field and goes third with a 135.625.
Yeah, it seems that couple of the drivers really struggling with track limits here. I mean, if you look at the track map on the right, all the blue dots there, as we see the 717 go invalid, all the blue dots are drivers on invalid laps. So those are drivers who will not have their lap times counted. And one of them you can see in there is Sarah O'Brien, who still has yet to set a valid lap. So we'll be hoping to eventually collect it all up and set a valid lap. But yeah, Misano doesn't seem to be being kind to our drivers tonight, Jesse.
Well, as a driver, and I can tell you this from firsthand experience, you are trying to take as much as the track will give you and as much as you're legally allowed to take. One would only need to look at the qualifying for the 24 of Spa a year or so ago, whenever they did not enforce track limits. That's how much you're willing to give me. I'm going to take every meter of it. And sometimes you get into that mentality. You have to have that mentality as a driver, mind you. And sometimes, whenever the confines are a little strange, as they often are in tracks like Misano, for instance, you just end up taking a little bit too much. And sometimes, even here, running wide, particularly in this section, you run a little bit too wide here. That'll invalidate your lap, despite the fact that it's actually a longer distance around. Alice Horton keeps getting bumped to the bottom of silver, keeps trying to pick up, and continues to do so at 35.487.
Yeah, just to quickly touch back on your track limits, Jesse. I was actually watching that, not live. I wish I was there in person, but I was watching the live stream, and I was looking at all these cars running wide at Spa 24, and I was like, if we did that on ACC, these drivers would have so many drive-through penalties for track cuts, it'd be disgusting. So still waiting for Kunos to put out those track limits. I'd really, really appreciate having them, because Lord knows I cannot keep it on the track at Spa. So having a few extra meters to play would be of great benefit to me. Please, Kunos, I'm begging you.
Of course, the Spa 24 we're referencing, that was only for qualifying. The stewards for that sanctioned series blatantly said, look, we don't have enough stewards to enforce track limits on Saturday, so we're going to allow them to get away with it on a few select turns. And boy, did they. It looked awkward, that particular quali session, but on race day, normal service was certainly resumed. Well, here's how it looks for qualifying. Rose and Dove, the top two in Pro, and they're the 1 and 2 overall as well. Yvonne over Sophie Erwin in silver, and it's Sarah O'Brien to the front in AM over Brock, and McKenna Santos third there. A couple of drivers still yet to get a legal lap in this session, just at the halfway point.
Yeah, so only 3 drivers now, Jesse, so I imagine everyone seems to have, I say everyone, maybe not, as I see many blue dots on the track map. A couple of drivers seem to be getting to grips with where the track limits are, but I've got a feeling this may cause problems in the race, Jesse. I've got a feeling a couple of drivers will be caught out, and, well, ACC enforced penalties may be determining the race result here.
It very well could. Of course, track limits a big issue everywhere we go, and they always creep in towards the end of the race. Some tracks more than others, obviously. Today, I think you could see upwards of 4 or 5 drive-throughs, depending on how close the racing is. The more you're side-by-side racing with other cars, the more difficult it actually becomes to keep it inside the lines. We saw Yvonne come across the line, improving on their lap time. That'll help their championship efforts today, as they try to stay provisional pole in the silver class there. And more drivers now setting laps. Ellis set a valid lap. Nicole Fox in the 202, looking to get a little bit further up inside the top 10, and doesn't on that occasion. 2/10 slower. You see a lot of cars in pit lane. Nate must be changing tires, making an adjustment. Probably going to get back out there and give it another shot here at the end.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if nobody came back out now with 9 minutes to go, because you can definitely make those last uh, tweaks to the balance of the car, the setup. Maybe you're not happy with the turn in on a corner. Maybe you're not happy with the exit you're getting. Maybe the front's washing out. Maybe you're getting some snap oversteer. You've just got these final few minutes to try and dial all that out, just so you can really maximize the time that you put down. But one driver, I'm sure the rest of the grid is hoping, who's already put everything on the table, is Anor Rose, who is, if I'm not mistaken, out on a flying lap now. I'm trying to find the number, but yeah, I'm sure nobody wants to see Anor go any quicker than they have already.
If I was Sarah Dove, I'd be pretty happy with this. If Rose is not able to improve and I'm around half to 6/10 of a second, I would be pretty chuffed with that, to be completely honest with you, considering how dominant Aner has been this entire season. Oh man, that was nearly an improvement there, but wasn't off by about 7/100ths of a second. Cosmo Marsh, who was a surprise 1 week ago, didn't end up going in their favor in the end, but my goodness, was that a fascinating race to watch from the number 2 V12. And we'll see if they can keep that up today.
Yeah, my standout from last week, definitely Cosmo Marsh. Um, I think that I don't know if I mentioned it, Jesse, but I was definitely rooting for Cosmo in that last race. I don't know if I said anything about it, or maybe I wasn't quite subtle about how I was supporting them. But yeah, I had bets on Cosmo Marsh last race, Jesse.
Yep, Nate, I think you were perfectly fine. You were as subtle as a freight train at 2 a.m., but Cosmo, trying to get back with the rest of the silver class, nearly took pole a week ago and was leading a little bit as well in that race. Unfortunately, it all sort of come undone for Cosmo. Came undone for a lot of people, to be fair. Let's not forget McKenna Santos, who was leading in class and got high centered on a curb in the Seconda Variante at Monza, and just an absolutely nightmare way to go out. Sarah O'Brien trying to add to the time and does a 36.362, gets them further away from Brock in second and am. Sophie Erwin here looking to pick up a few tens, needs about 2.5 to take the pole away from Yvonne and Silver. Both of the silver drivers well and truly splitting the pro field here today. It does happen. There's courses for horses, of course, and also drivers as well will have track preference. We'll see if Fox, Acosta, and Luna can have anything to say about that.
I'm proud of you for that one, Jesse. That was really good.
I'm a poet and I didn't even know it.
I'm proud of you for that one. You didn't trip up, didn't stumble. That was fantastic. But yeah, I mean, I know for a fact, we saw it last time we came here, Jesse, that Yvonne absolutely flies at this track. If I remember rightly, she actually got pole last time she was here, but had an unfortunate incident during the race, which cost them well, the win, and I think actually an overall podium as well. But yeah, so I was fully expecting Yvonne to go well here. I don't think she's made any secret of it that she really enjoys this track. Obviously, we know Sophie Erwin on her day is rapid when she manages to get through lap one. Unfortunately, whatever car Sophie is in just seems to magnetize itself to other cars, and poor her often finds herself pointing the wrong way on the first lap. But these last few races, as a kept her nose clean, got through that one, and has been a real force to reckon with, even challenging some of the pro drivers.
Well, I couldn't have said it better myself, Nate. I mean, look where Sophie has put themselves in the championship, and we'll bring you all of the standings immediately following qualifying. We'll be able to confirm the Sophie Erwin Challenge and how strong it has been in the last several races. Brock comes to the line, an improvement there. Second in the class, a 36.780. Needs about 4 tenths, 3 or 4 tenths to take the fight to O'Brien, who's in the pit lane. Unknown if they'll be coming back out. I can't tell if they're moving right now or not. I don't think they are. So 4 minutes left to play in qualifying. Everyone trying to pick up time and improve. In fact, Fury April picked up a nice chunk of time. Third in the silver class, and now Nicole Fox has picked up a decent amount as well. Got themselves within a second of Rose up front. Johnson improves, knocking April down to fourth now.
Yeah, so everyone's slowly getting quicker. Obviously, really finding where they can push track limits to obviously gain time but keep their time valid. So I don't think, well, maybe for the 292, it's over now, and it doesn't seem like Sarah O'Brien is coming back out, but there's definitely a lot of opportunity for this grid to mix itself up.
There sure is. And talking about O'Brien, it made me take a look at Robertson there in the 11 Lexus. They spent more than half this session without setting a valid lap. It wasn't for lack of trying. They just kept invalidating. They finally set a lap. It was good enough for third and AM.
I mean, I think I'd be proud of that. It's sort of a one-lap wonder. Go out, set a lap, come back in, third in class. Could you really ask for more than that?
I was once told by a racing driver that it doesn't matter how many invalid you do in qualifying as long as one of them is fast and counts.
I mean,
that might have not been exactly what he told me, but he told me something to that effect. And I guess that's true.
You can't argue it, really, can you? If you go out and do 10 laps and only one of them is valid, but that one lap gets you pole position, who's going to argue with you?
I call that the Lewis Hamilton technique, Nate.
Hey, I'll have you know Hammy is very consistent.
Moving right along from the F1 talk, because that's a different show. Nate, you and I should do that show at some point. 1 minute 45 left in quali here. One of the longer quali sessions we do. Normally, most RCI series has converted to this sprint qualifying of 10 minutes, but it's just not fair to do that in a race with 3 different classes, so we don't. But most of the other series, a short qualifying. This is a nice longer qualifying. Nate and I kind of relax a little bit. This session, everybody has been improving hand over fist. Hamish here, just a bit. Well, that lap actually said it was quicker, but must have been invalidated because it doesn't actually go up on the board. Nicole Fox closer to the front of the pro field and third in that class currently, hoping they're not going to catch the traffic in front and trying to get one more spot closer at least to the front group. Rose, Dove, Fox, the top 3 currently in pro. Yvonne, Arrow, and Johnson, the top 3 in silver. O'Brien, Brock, and Robertson, the top 3 in the AM class.
Yeah, I'm surprised that, well, maybe I'm surprised, maybe Sarah O'Brien was very quietly confident that Sarah O'Brien didn't actually come back out, as we see Charlotte Robinson going for a little bit of an excursion, shall we say. Nicole Fox doesn't improve on their lap, so final lap now for, well, everyone out on track, I suppose, to see who mixes up where. But yeah, O'Brien very confident in the fact that they've been in the pits for the last 9 minutes and no attempt to come back out, and just sort of chilling, knowing exactly that they're comfortably poled it in AM.
Well, I'm just going to say either they have had to deal with an outside intervention or they are super confident in their quali pace. And if they get this, I will say that that's calm, cool, and collected. And also a nice little 10-minute break before the hour's race. I just want to mention something Steven said in chat. We are watching chat as we always are here on RCI TV. Steven mentioned one valid lap among 10 invalids doesn't fly in RCI pre-Q. That you are very right about. That logic that I was given would not fly
False.
inside RCI.
Yeah.
It's almost like we thought of that.
Ah, see, but this is a good thought. So are we still blaming Mike Jones or?
I mean, I blame Mike Jones regardless if Mike Jones did it or not because Mike Jones.
Yeah, but we don't want to give him credit, Jesse.
I give the man a little bit of credit. Every now and then he has a good idea. Well, qualifying coming to an end. Yvonne does improve here, showing off a little bit, in my opinion. A 34, whatever that was, good enough for 7/10 to Rose. And distances themselves, only a few cars on valid laps there, as Luna in ninth place. Well, that's qualifying done, and a Toxie Turvy qualifying, if I may say so myself. But we promised you some championship standings, and here they are. Well, we're going to bring you the championship settings, and in the meantime, here they are actually. Anal Rose, 117 points over Luna, who has had several top threes in a row with 83 points. Ruby Acosta, third with 68. Sarah Dove, 8 points behind that fight, and is also tied with Nicole Fox for that place, 60 points apiece. Mia Rose has withdrawn from the championship. Silver championship is a lot closer than that. Everybody get your notepads out. Yvonne with 89 points leads the heap. Sophie Erwin, 88. And no matter how you count that up, that's one less. 4 points behind that mark. April Carlsvard and Fury April, the teammates, tied for third and still well within striking distance. 5 championship points off of the lead. A little bit further back in fifth, Alice Horton was 70. Sarah Johnson, 65. Close battle for fifth there. Cosmo Marsh on 49. And Hamish with 45. And the AM Championship still yet to be decided. Sarah O'Brien, 107 over Brock's 100 points. That's where you're likely going to continue to see the fight to the championship. Charlotte Robertson, third in that fight with 79. McKenna Santos on 71. And L with 18 points. Laura, I believe, has withdrawn from the championship. Well, that's the championship fight, Nate, but we left the last race with a little bit of drama. There was the shakeup at the end for the silver championship, or the silver win, rather, a week ago, where one driver let another one in front. We had a look at the rule book. The stewards reviewed it in private. Everyone agreed there's no rule against giving up a win on the books, so nobody did anything wrong there.
Well, I think we sort of had our suspicions that it might be a slap on the wrist, but it turns out it wasn't even that. So let's well, it's nice. It is nice. Don't get me wrong. And I'm putting my very boring and very sensible hat on here. So just bear with me, right? Because it is nice. It's cool. We all love it. It gives you that warm fuzzy feeling that none of us have had since our parents hugged us when we were kids. But at the same time, it also does mess with the results of the overall championship. So it's sort of like, give a point up here, give a win up there, and it's sort of like, oh well, hang on, suddenly this driver that maybe wasn't in contention.
So that's actually the interesting thing that they brought up was that there would have been a penalty had the car that slowed down. I don't know if that was Erwin or who that was. I don't remember. Doesn't really matter. Whomever it was that was leading that gave up that lead, had they slowed down in a place uh, of difficulty or a place that caused some kind of waved yellow flag or impeded the progress of another car, that would have been an issue that did not happen. So everything was fair on that occasion.
Everything was a-okay. But well, Jesse, it seems we have pictures back. Everyone can now follow along at home, should they so choose to.
Hmm.
And as it seems, we're still on the warm-up lap. So folks, you haven't missed much. Just maybe the chance to look at some of these fantastic liveries we've got.
TLDR, stewards reviewed the silver change of lead on the straightaway that was very clearly given on purpose. There's no rule in the RCI rulebook that says you can't do that. There is a rule that says that you cannot impede traffic, which was not the case. It was done appropriately, according to the stewards, and no penalty for giving up the lead there. In addition to that, we also became privy last week, and you at home might find this interesting as well, that Fury April and April Carlsvard were not necessarily happy with each other after the race a week ago, after the contact that they had racing very close together. I believe they came together in turn one, and one of the cars got a penalty. They absolutely disagreed with said penalty. Penalty was reviewed, and it stood. But on top of that, the two drivers had some behind closed doors discussions a week ago. That is not good from teammates.
No, I think that's the one sort of rule that every team, no matter where they are, have, and it's don't crash into your teammate. Obviously, those two were racing hard, and sometimes it happens, but yeah, you sort of need to keep a lid on it, keep it sort of under control, and pace yourself. If you know you're quicker than the car ahead of you, you will find a way past.
Well, here we go, folks. Adel Rose and Dove on the front row. The green flag waved. 18 cars and clear for Adel Rose into turn one. Side by side for third place as Dove is there in pursuit. A little bit wide turn from Yvonne's going to give up the third spot to Fox. Fox now running third in the McLaren. Yvonne looks a little loose off of some of these corners. And here comes Fury April. Where did Fury April come from? I have no idea. Ruby Acosta in the fight between their teammate. This is the Queen's Design team. Acosta and Luna racing each other. Oh, and the McLaren's off. Was that Fox that just went off?
I didn't quite catch livery. It might have been. It is Nicole Fox, and that looks like
damage.
Heavy damage on the front of that car.
Oh no!
That is not what you want on the first lap. The worst part is because the grid is so bunched up, you just feel like you lose so many more positions than you. Well, I suppose you do lose more positions than you normally would, but it also drops you so much further off the back of the lead cars because of how grouped up everyone is to start with. So nightmare start for Nicole Fox there. We'll just have to see whether they pit early to repair the damage and then run the race alone till the end, or if they try and hold it out for the next few laps just to see what kind of places they can make up.
Well, we just saw Sarah Dove's McLaren also run off the racetrack, and they still try to contest second place from Yvonne. Didn't quite come off. Yvonne's actually gotten back by Dove there. We missed that bit, but they were still side by side when we picked up the action. And now Dove has been demoted back to third, and Sophie Erwin right behind, trying to climb the ladder here. Erwin trying to take the fight to Yvonne for not only the lead in the race, but potentially the championship as well. Dove, the GTWR driver in the middle, trying to get closer to Rose, trying to claw points back in pro as well. That was a spirited first lap. I can tell you, Fox is in the pit lane. That's going to take some repairing shortly. Heavy damage to the nose of that car. We didn't quite see it, but if I had to guess, based on how out of sorts a lot of the cars looked on that first lap, the track very hot, not grippy at all, I would reckon. And I just think maybe a little bit of opposite lock after trying to catch the car and just sent it into the wall. 37 degrees C track temp. You could fry an egg on that.
You could, Jesse. And in regards to the incident, there's only one person that will know, and that is our man behind the camera. There's, with all the many names that you like to give him, as we see. Who was that? Was that Sophie Erwin giving Sarah Dove the hurry up there, saying, "Get out of my way, I've got a silver class win to chase after, and you're just getting in the way."
Nicole Fox does rejoin the race a lap or so down, but that's the duality of this racetrack, Nate. because you're probably that McLaren's probably good on one end of this racetrack. The problem is the Bentley seems to be really good in sector 3, and that's where Yvonne has driven away, and Sophie Erwin had a peak there. But I think that's exactly what you're seeing, and that's why I like Misano so much myself. You've got a little bit of everything, no matter what car you're in. Everybody here will be battling the sun as it is absolutely baking this racetrack. Grip, tire temps, all of that is going to be an issue here today.
Yeah, definitely. As you mentioned, the high temp's going to cause havoc with the tires because if you overheat them, it's going to be so difficult to get the core back under control. Because the moment you start overheating these tires, you lose grip, and then obviously that just compounds the issue because you're sliding, you're putting more heat into the tires, and because you're putting heat into the tires, you're sliding. So yeah, the high temperatures are definitely going to cause some problems, but as long as you can, I suppose, the initial thing is to not slide the car, not overheat the tires, and you know, easier said than done. But if you can do that, you'll be onto a winner.
You certainly can do. There's a lot of patience early in a race like this, and I would be curious to see how many of these drivers have driven in extreme temperatures like this. This is just about the hottest I've ever seen a racetrack in ACC here on RCI TV. I think the hottest I've ever seen was 43°C, and that was in South Africa, Kyalami, the middle of summer. And anybody that's from the great, wonderful country of South Africa will know it does actually get that hot there. So it's just absolutely baking, but this is really close to that kind of temperature. Just absolutely no grip. Everyone doing a really decent job, it must be said. A few contacts, but other than that, everything seems to be a-okay. I noticed McKenna Santos has dropped to dead last on the lead lap, but we've seen that before out of McKenna, and they somehow work their way back up to a podium position. Rose leads overall, Yvonne in second place. Also a silver car, Sophie Erlin and Fury April. Now your top three in silver, O'Brien, Robertson, and Brock. All sort of, well, they are 1, 2, 3, but there is quite a bit of a distance. I've just noticed O'Brien has gapped Robertson by some 6 seconds there.
Yeah, that's quite a significant gap as well. I mean, as we can see from this shot here, car behind now just creeping into view as Brian, excuse me, almost to, well, I suppose, could you consider that the end of the first back straight? As we see, oh, sideways, just no wide. That's wide. So that's position given to Alice Horton there. So let's just see what happens here. So it looks like just catches the inside curb, maybe.
Yeah, no, you're right. It didn't look like it on that camera, Nate, but I swear to you, you were spot on with that with that call, because that car was sideways whenever it hit that curb. It just, because you're turning to the right, it looks natural from that camera angle, but it wasn't. That car was sideways the whole way as Karlsvard was fighting that car to keep from spinning out. I couldn't have saved that, so my hat's off.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those moments where it's sort of one of I've got it, I don't got it, I got it, I don't got it. Oh, okay, I kind of have it now. But yeah, as you said, well done for, well, so keeping it pointing the right way and avoiding the wall. But yeah, unfortunately, position lost, and Alice Horton is gonna scuttle up the road some by where are we? Oh, not too much of a margin. I thought it was a bit bigger than that. But yeah, either way, position lost. And again, that's what we're going to talk about with the tires overheating. Karlsvard's rear tires are going to be crying out after a slide like that.
I was just going to say that very thing. Today is not the day to be sliding your tires. I think, considering the pit stop requirements, a lot of people won't be taking tires, but I think today you could make a legitimate argument for taking tires, especially if you've done some serious damage to them. Well, I was wondering, by the way, how we got McKenna all the way to the back of the AM field, and I was wondering how they got there. Well, I don't have to wonder anymore. Glenn Wright giving me the reports today from the steward's box. 15-second penalty for car 22 for hitting the 292 in the rear, causing a takeout. The position was returned. We're going to watch this and see exactly. Yep. That is very unfortunate indeed.
I don't think there could be a more sort of cut and dry incident. There was definitely no arguing that one, was there? There was no, oh well, I don't think I hit them. It was kind of like, well, you did, yeah. There's no getting away from that one.
That certainly, I think what we'll do is I'm going to chalk that up to the best case scenario. That was the most major contact we had from the opening lap, and I think I'll take that. Very unfortunate, of course, for L, but even still, they're both still going, and the bright side, L didn't hit anything, and now back out in front of McKenna here at least for the 4th place in that particular category.
Yeah, so some very smart driving from L just now coming into the first corner. Obviously quite aware that Santos was going to go deep into turn 1, so very sensibly just stopped at the normal point, didn't try to outbrake Santos, and then took the corner normally, tucked in behind, and then got the outside and drove clean around them. So very well done between those two drivers there.
Yeah, sometimes you got to know where you got to think like your opponent. How's my opponent going to race me? What can I get away with here? And what should I do if I see somebody making a mistake? And just doing the right thing there was L, and it all ends up going their way on that particular occasion. Fight for 3rd place in the silver here. That's Sarah Johnson's Bentley, the black and red car in the background, trying to chase down Fury April's Giggle Gum 717, the highest Ferrari in the race out of the 2 teammates at this point. We saw April slide through earlier, saved the car in dramatic fashion and style too, if I might add. But still, all the cars continuing. And I'm just hoping, I was trying to remember what time of day it was. It's 2:40 p.m. It'll be around 2:30 something, 2:30, or excuse me, 3:30, because I can do math, when the race ends. I'm hoping this track doesn't get any more baked than it is now.
I really thought you were going to say any more hotter. And in my head, that
I wanted to say that, but I fought it. I fought the urge to say an Americanism.
I could hear you like fighting it. Just I hope
do
the track
it, me.
doesn't get any more hotter.
Oh my goodness, that Lexus of Robertson is looking absolutely frightful to drive, particularly into the braking zones. That's a missed braking point and a half. And did that car go all the way around, I wonder? I don't think it did, but it looked like it was good. It hasn't.
No, I don't. Oh, well, maybe though, because they have dropped off the back of Rock by some, 3 seconds? So maybe a half spin, Jesse? What do you think?
Probably so. We saw Cosvard save it. I don't expect anything out of Robertson to be any different there. So probably a couple of good saves there. Well, I said the worst thing that happened on lap 1 was McKenna's accident, and that's true. But on lap 3, something that I don't know if we caught or not, drive-through penalty for car 30 for punting the 2 and spinning them out. It's noted that the 30 does not wait or attempt to give back the position. So a drive-through penalty. Talk us through this, Nate.
Well, it's not an incident I've seen either, but it just seems that, yeah, maybe it's difficult to say because it does look like the BMW is making the corner just fine. So maybe just the V12 being a little bit of an older model doesn't quite have the, what's the word, like the brakes, the turn in for that corner, so might have to, the driving style for that obviously completely different to the BMW. So it just seems like speed difference caught both the drivers out, but unfortunately it doesn't seem like the 30 made much of an attempt to avoid the incident.
I just want to point out that Steven in chat cursed his own driver that he's cheering for, or they are cheering for, rather. So, commentator's curse happens to even you in the comments. Ha 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 ha. Well, I will say, I will say something else as well. That the two stewarding reports that we've got, it doesn't get easier for them, does it? It's too, as Ryan Rai Gill would say, pretty slam dunk if you ask me, for those two penalties.
Yeah, nice and easy. Better than sort of some of the awkward ones we've seen in the past, where it's like, oh well, is it? Is it? Do we need to go back and look at it? It's just sort of like, nope, this is a penalty. Hand it out, get it done.
Yeah, of course, very simple RCI rules. If you spin somebody, you're going to get a drive-through penalty. That is, unless you make an attempt to rectify your mistake, in which case it could be lessened some of the time, usually down to a 15-second penalty. Even if it's accidental, which most accidents, I would say, 99.99% of racing accidents are genuinely just mistakes and accidents. You can't spin somebody and say, oh, well, it's just a mistake. That's not how it works. But Sarah Dove has just spun out of turn 2, or actually going into turn 2, actually. And this turn right here, as well as the dog leg on the back straight here, are absolutely wreaking havoc here. That dropped Sarah 3 spots.
Yep, there it is. No, just the 2. Just 2 spots? Yeah, because that's Fury April ahead, so only 2 spots. But yeah, I mean, all cars are particularly sensitive to if you just hold the brakes on a little bit less than trail braking allows you to. But the McLaren just ever so sensitive to it, and it looked like Dove just got into the corner a little, just a fraction too hot. Was maybe worried about plowing into the rear end of the Bentley, so got on the brakes to slow the car down, and that shift in balance just brought the rear end around. And once it goes, it's just such a nightmare to try and catch. So really unfortunate, especially considering last time out at Monza, Dove did not have a particularly fantastic race. So was probably looking for redemption here, and unfortunately it looks like that she's going to have to work a little bit harder for it.
Of course, it's so important to keep your focus in a race like this, especially if you've seen so many of your competitors make mistakes, and it's just such a different sort of experience here. You can practice for the wet, and most people do. You can practice for a cold track, but a really hot track, you don't really practice too much for that because it's not something that comes up too often. And I would call this fairly extreme in that case. So a lot of teams out here today, a lot of these drivers getting a new or unique experience. And even if they have raced on other tracks in this tip, it's almost certain that they haven't here, because Misano, again, not one of the more popular tracks. So your sample size smaller, thus it's fairly unlikely that you would have been experiencing temperatures like this. Fury April looking back at Dove, trying to make up for that mistake. The self-spin coming into turn 2. Has to get by Fury April here to get back up into the 4th place position. Yvonne Net still 2nd. Sophie Erwin promoted up to 3rd. And the quest for the silver championship continues. Erwin's 3 seconds behind Yvonne, but still relatively close, all things considered. A little bit of competition in chat, Nate. Miguel Martin says, can commentators curse work in advance? If so, Nate is doing a really good job of staying off the walls. Oh, I think you and Miguel raced together. Of course, Miguel Martin's our newest commentator, yet to make his debut. Will do in a short time. But he's trying to curse you days in advance here.
You know, it's not even sort of will it be a curse. It's quite well known among my teammates that I will at some point in the race put the car into the wall. So we've actually renamed the team to Wall Hunters in honor of me finding the wall at every race we go to. So, but yeah, I suppose advanced commentators curse, or pre-delay. I don't know. What's the word? Jesse, help me out here.
I just want to point out that Wall Hunters sounds like a really boring BBC One show. All right, that comes on sort of middle of the afternoon. But Miguel Martins with the advanced tactics to try and get you out of his way days in advance. I like it. I like where your head's at, Miguel.
Out of his way, we race in the same car. If I make a mistake, it impacts him.
Oh, that's right. You race with him.
Yeah.
Wait. That makes the plot thicken. Then because he's trying to wreck his own car. That's really advanced tactics.
If we can't win, then we can't win.
That's some five-head stuff you got going on over there at the Wall Hunters Racing team. Sarah Dove continuing to try and chase down Fury April. I will give Dove this. Their early misfortune, obviously going up to second, then losing second, and now the spin, has not done anything to ruin their confidence. And Dove now making a decision. And I love this, Nate. You're stuck in traffic. You torched your tires. Why not come on in and pit right now? Get yourself out of traffic. Who knows? Everybody else pits if you're running quicker laps than they are, which I suspect Dove thinks that they are doing. Maybe you get in front of them without actually having to make the pass.
Yeah, exactly that, Jesse. Because while you're overdriving the car, trying to pass the car ahead of you, you're taking life out of your tires. Whereas if you can run your race, because maybe Dove believes that she's faster than Fury April, so if she can run to her own pace, which she believes is faster than Fury April, then come the pit stop rounds being completed, she'll be ahead. So it doesn't put any extra wear on her tires because she's not overdriving the car. They're not going to overheat. They don't need to go through a recovery window to bring them back into the temperature range they need to operate. So it's a good strategy, but is it going to pay off? We'll have to wait and see.
Well, we talked about track limits, and it hasn't taken long. I noticed that McKenna was back in front of L for fourth place in AM. I also noticed that L had a drive-through penalty, and the stewards have told me, confirming the 292, that is a track limits penalty assigned by ACC, not the stewards. We made it 20 minutes into the race, and we've already got our first drive-through. I said the over-under, I said we'll probably get about 5 today. Well, there's one.
I feel like 5 might be a little bit high, but I'm
So you're going to take the under then?
Yes, I'm going to say under. I'm going to go for 3, and one of them will come from our top 4.
Nate, do you want the Diamond Drive Cup drivers to dislike you? Is that what's going on here?
I mean, no,
because if it happens, there's no way Jake Boswell or me is not going to tell him that you said that was going to happen.
Yeah, but if it happens, that just means I'm very good at predicting what will happen, right? And also, it just means keep the car on the track. I don't know what else to tell you.
Well, you'll be happy about this. We can obviously confirm we saw the replay earlier. That was not a clean lap one, so your thighs are safe for another week.
Do you know what? I completely forgot about that.
Well, it wasn't clean at Monza. It wasn't clean here today, so still safe. Going on nearly 3 seasons and still no hashtag thigh highs for Nate. Alice Horton trying to get by Costa. Actually, the other way around. Or not the other way around at all. Horton.
No, Carlsvard trying to defend.
Carlsvard. Excuse me. I didn't realize which way was up. And that is a BMW in front, but that's not. That's not Acosta's BMW.
No, that is L. Oh, Carlsvard diving into pit lane. Oh, clips the wall. Oh, that's seconds lost. So Carlsvard's probably predicted strategy of pitting now, coming out ahead, is I could probably say is not going to happen unless they don't repair the damage. But then are you going to lose time on track because of aerodynamic issues? And oh god, ACC's like complex physics engine, the way it works all this stuff out, you just don't really have time to to work out what is more beneficial to you until it's happened, at which point it's too late. So, will Carlsbad repair the damage, or will they just go, well, they're already on their way out, so I would suggest maybe not?
I can tell you that L has been off in turn 3. That was the local Yellow that was out there. I can also confirm through Mr. Chief Steward Tom Bryant. I can confirm that the 177 took tires on their pit stop. That answers Steven's question in chat. And oh, okay, yep, that's exactly what happened in turn 1 a moment ago as well. That was the 202. He took out the 11 there, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's well, I don't really know how to talk about that one, Jesse. Just an
Hey
accident has
man,
occurred.
I'm reading what head steward Tom Bryant has pushed to us in our booth. Mind you, I'm not reading everything Tom Bryant has said to me in the booth.
Well, that's just rude. How could you ignore our one and only Tom Bryan?
Well, I'm not ignoring him. It's just, you know, Tom Bryant needs to save some of that for my Tinder. That's all. Rose continues to lead the race. The Queen Design 56 has led the majority of the season and is unrivaled thus far. It's chasing a 5th consecutive win. You'll be interested to know at home that we have had in RCI's history a 5-peat winner before, but nobody has ever went the full distance of 6 rounds. And that is what Anor Rose is chasing, that history. And will try to tie the record today. It could very well beat the record and take the very first clean sweep in 1 week's time.
As much as I want it to happen, I also don't, because I want to come into every event or every sort of season going, oh, nobody's ever done this before, and the what's the word? Anticipation of whether a driver can or can't do it is just so great. But I mean, obviously, huge achievement if it is done. I mean, I'm not trying to take that away from anyone, but maybe Anor could just be nice and just maybe let Yvonne win this one, so that way we can still look forward to it next season.
Probably not. That's not going to happen, right? I don't think Anor's going to be giving up any W's anytime soon. But hey, I've been wrong before. Speaking of, 15-second penalty for car 202 for hitting car 11 in the rear, causing a takeout. The position was returned. Man, the stewards are getting off easy today.
Yeah, aren't they just? It's I mean, how many have we got working down there? There's what, 6 of them, and they've looked at 3 just open and shut incidents. I mean, I don't know. There's not really a lot for them to do, which is good news, but
oh yeah.
Wow.
I'm just saying it must be nice living on Easy Street, because that's where the steward's box is currently located.
Oh wow. They normally work very hard, Jesse. We can't take that away from them. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, they worked especially hard last Saturday night. I can guarantee you that. Fury April continuing to try and outpace Sarah Johnson in the 888 behind them. Is for 4th place. April getting the job done, as the 717, as far as I can tell, hasn't put a tire wrong thus far. Probably one of the more stable looking cars is Fury April 717.
Do you know what? Up until this weekend, I've not ever had a stable car. I've always had one that sort of got me around the track relatively okay, and I've just sort of dealt with it. But someone sent me a setup this weekend for a stable car, and now I wish I was as fantastic as the pros in setting up cars, because it is just the most wonderful thing when you get a car absolutely dialed into a racetrack and you just have that stability all the way around.
No, I know exactly what you mean. I've had the pleasure of having a couple of really nice professional setups before in ACC, and a lot of the time there's tricky bits that you have to learn how to drive, but I think that's more to do with the sim. But beyond that, there are some cars that some of these pros have figured out to set up, and they just feel like driving a nice marshmallow. They're just so easy and comfortable. It's the weirdest thing. It's like driving a cloud almost. Can you believe this? You point the car where you want it to go, and it actually goes there. And that's probably the most impressive thing of all. What happens here between these two? Carlsvard. Oh,
Oh,
goes underneath and just takes the spot away.
that was a nice move. Everyone gave each other the space, but it was, I would argue, a smidge rude from Sarah Dove to kind of just force the nose in there. But yeah,
Sarah's got places to be and people to see, and they got to make that early pit stop work for. Remember, Dove came in really early, so they got to make that really work for them. They don't got time, and I feel like April Carlsbad almost let that happen in a way.
mm, maybe, but didn't make it easy. It's sort of like, if you want this, then you need to fight for it.
Fair assessment, Nate. Well, for what it's worth, Yvonne still holding on to second place. Sophie Irwin is closing in. Remember, that gap was over 3 seconds. Sophie has taken more than a second out of that time, nearly 1.2 seconds to my stopwatch in the past 10 minutes. At this pace, you wouldn't need to be a mathematician or to actually even be doing the maths at all to figure out that Irwin will get there if this trend continues. Fury April very nearly lost that position to Johnson. Johnson was not in a position to contest the spot, so Fury will keep it even after running very wide indeed. A scary moment, almost hitting the dirt. And now Sarah Johnson has had just about enough of following that Ferrari.
Yeah, seems to be around. This is around the time that I would pit. Sort of the old 50-50 strat, fuel the car for halfway in, fuel the car for the final half of the race. Because then I think, as a comfortable middle pack driver, it's just the sweet spot for the tires to not be completely dead and you lose time, but also you're not leaving any good rubber still on there that you could have, pumped in some quick laps with. So, yep, the old 50-50 strat. Seems to be a couple of drivers who have gone for that, the 888 and the 22. We'll see if anyone else might stop this lap or the next.
Yeah, usually speaking, that is what you see. You see the teams consider their options. If you're in traffic, you might stop a little bit early. And if you're free, like Adel Rose is, you might come in a little bit later some of the time just to make sure, try to calculate where the traffic is, where it's going to be. You don't want to come out right in front of or behind somebody or have to contest the spot immediately coming out on cold tires, if you can believe such a thing exists on a day like today. But even so, it's all a calculated risk when you come in. Most of the teams will likely be in around the halfway point. You might see a few really push the limit. And speaking of pushing the limit, Ruby Acosta in the 40 BMW, the Queen's Design team, one of the 4 cars, or one of the 3 cars remaining, I should say. Drive-through penalty, and you guessed it, track limits.
Well, I said top 4, so technically I'm still in. I'm safe for now. But that was not too far away. Maybe I should have said top 5, but yeah. So it's just frustrating because when you're on your last track limit, obviously you get told about it, but then you start driving a little bit cautiously, but then you start losing time, so you pick it up just a smidge, and then it's just that one time you carry a little bit too much speed into a corner, and the game just gives you the slam dunk. I wish there was a system. I was going to say a type of system, and it just sort of blurred into one then, where you could. Oh no, Jessie Lee. just quickly want to point out a stop-go 30 for Ruby Acosta, which I could only assume would be pit lane speeding.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's just the most frustrating thing on the planet for Ruby Acosta. Came in to serve the drive-through penalty for track limits and didn't get down to pit lane speed. Either that or sped up too early exiting pit road. It could have been either. It wasn't egregious though because the sim would have disqualified Acosta for that, as it's a little bit too punishing in that regard. So it was under 20 kilometers over. But how many times do we see that, Nate, where a driver gets a penalty, they have to come down pit lane, they're not thinking straight because they're frustrated with the situation and they make a mistake, an even bigger mistake. And that's exactly what's happened. Acosta will now have to come down pit lane 2 more times, a stop and go 30, and then their pit stop.
Oh, that's at that point you just know the race is over for you, because a stop go 30 will probably drop them a lap down. Oh no, actually, sorry, the stop go 30 won't drop them a lap down, but by the time they finish their pit stop, they will almost certainly be a lap down from that one, especially after the already served drive-through, which I suppose was the catalyst in all of this. But yeah, just to quickly pick back up, I wish there was a system where if you drove for, say, 7 or 8 laps without getting near the curbs or anything
Oh
like that,
dear.
you would lose the track warning. Like, you'd lose the track warning, so go from 2 to 1. But as we talk about track limits, poor old Charlotte Robinson seems to think that she wants to get in on the action.
Well, for those of you playing the game at home, that's 3 drive-through penalties for track limits, I should say. Nate, you're spot on if we don't get any more in the next 25 minutes, but I'm afraid that we might have all underbid.
Nope, that's it. Stop the clock. I'm ending the race here. That's it. We're done. Everyone, go look at the leaderboards. That's it. Go home. We're done. No more track limits. No more drive-throughs. I win the bet, and Jesse Lee has officially agreed to give me the entire contents of his bank account and any future money he earns.
You're going to be very disappointed about a lot of those statements, Nate, in the future. Also, I don't think you're the flagman today. You have a lot of flags, but I don't see the appropriate ones.
Jesse, that was a bit below the belt.
I'm just saying, I'm getting a lot of red flags right now. We don't need one of those.
Or is that because I don't camp in corners on Halo?
I will talk to you after the race about my legitimate Halo strategy. Luna in the 66th and 7th place now finds themselves sort of behind a long line of silver cars. You got O'Brien in front of them right now, but O'Brien still has to pit, of course. Everybody else in the AM class has completed their pit stop, and that has brought out Brock into second place, or brought Brock up to second place, I should say. McKenna Santos has survived, I think is the correct term here for what we've seen from Elle and Robertson, where they have had a bit of an unfortunate day thus far. But McKenna, once again, after almost being a lap down early and having a penalty of their own, has found themselves back in a podium position again. Impressive stuff.
Yeah, it's when you can just sort of keep your head down and run your own race and put the laps in and not worry about who's around you or what's going on around you, you will often find that you'll have a better result than trying to race and keep up with people ahead of you. It's something that took me forever to learn. I know people who are still trying to learn it, and obviously all the people who taught it to me also do the same thing, and we constantly have solid results. And it is just all about not getting caught up in a race that isn't yours, because I always used to overdrive the car. I had a point to prove. I wanted to stay with the fast guys, and I would lose control, hit the wall, spin out, everything above. And a lot of people said to me, just run your own race, settle down, and the results will come. And you can't do anything more than that, and the results are coming to those who deserve them.
we were having this exact conversation in private the other day, or at least I was, about how the majority of sim racers when they start out, or even for years after they started, they have this almost FOMO effect where if they think if they don't go 100% all the time, they're going to miss out, which actually is to their detriment. Sometimes you shouldn't be going as quickly as you possibly could be. And what really separates a pro from anybody else is somebody that has speed, but also somebody who knows what they need to do at any given time. You won't see a lot of the top drivers, esports drivers, going 100% or even 99, 98% all the time. They'll be saving some simply out of a caution. Caution is the hardest thing to learn in any sport, sort of the constraint that you need to be truly elite, to know exactly what you need to do and execute at the exact right time. It's really hard, especially in pub lobbies as well. But everybody eventually does learn that lesson one way or another. Yvonne has pitted out of the lead of Silver, the 147 back to fourth for the moment. Erwin takes lead in that category over April and Horton now. Yvonne, of course, one of the few Silvers that have actually made their pit stop. The nearest one that has is Johnson, but they're several cars and several seconds behind.
Yeah, I think the grid now might be starting to settle itself down into small groups or groups of cars. And yeah, obviously, Horton still needs to stop, so they are a little bit out of position. Acosta, unfortunately, even though been into the pits twice already, does still need to stop. And so does Eisner. So, oh, in the top three are the top three. I don't think a pit stop will change where they shake up. But so yeah, only a handful of cars start at position, Jesse. And then we'll have to see if battle will commence. Obviously, unfortunately, a few cars might be feeling that they're out of position. Obviously, Nicole Fox, Sarah Dove, two that I think from the top of my head. Acosta definitely probably feeling out of position as they enter the pits for the third and hopefully the final time.
Hopefully so. Luna has their hands full with Johnson. This is a straight up fight for position. Of course, several cars still yet to pit. Erwin has brought the leading 714 into pit lane. That should give the lead back to Yvonne, but we'll pay attention to that as the battle for sixth place cools off for the moment. Yvonne has retaken the position over Erwin. And actually, if the timing board is to be believed, has stranded Alice Horton in between the two of them, which is definitely to Yvonne's benefit here. Fury April now leading in silver class. Still yet to make their pit stop with 18 and a half minutes to go.
So I think at this point, not stopping is actually detrimental to you because, well, I suppose it depends how well you look after the tires. For me personally, I think I would be slowing down and losing time. But obviously these drivers are much quicker than myself, so I'm sure they're all monitoring their own lap times and seeing how either gradual or sudden the drop-off is. And I guess they'll pit when they're ready. But for me personally, I don't like staying out this long.
Certainly, if you stayed out this long, you're trying to work a strategy at this point, and credit to anybody who has. And of course, we have four drivers that haven't pitted: Rose, Theory, April, Alice Horton, and Hamish. And those are the four drivers that haven't pitted. Generally speaking, if you've made it to this point, you're working a strategy. And like I was saying, to their credit, they've been able to keep the tires under them in these conditions. So if you're out here at this point, likely your race has gone pretty okay by your standards because you haven't been forced down pit lane. You haven't decided to come down pit lane. And for the front couple of cars, of course, Horton, April, and Rose, I would say, yeah, the race has gone pretty decent for them. as well. Sarah Dove continuing to work on Luna here, very close quarters. And this is the same thing we saw early in this race. One end of the track, the BMW's better. The other end of the track, the McLaren's better. They're going to be side by side, as close as you like. Room given. Oh, contact there. Dove must have thought that they were clear. Contact with Luna. Position surrendered, but a dive, a lunge down to the hairpin, a bonk, a Mike Jones-sized bonk, and Luna gets back in front. Let's look at that one more time.
Yeah, so as you can see, Dove sort of near enough there to have a look on the inside. Obviously forces Luna wide, then Dove tries to take the normal racing line, believing they're clear, has a little bit of a bonk with them. Luna says, I refuse to take that, sends it down the inside. And as you mentioned, Jesse, there was a mammoth shunt there. But, well, all drivers pointing the same way, no quarter given. And, yeah, everyone continues on.
I think something's happened to Dove after the fact as they have fallen off quite significantly. And yeah, there it is. Johnson now in between them. And now this is basically going to be, because when Johnson catches Luna, Johnson's going to try and get in front, and that's going to catch Dove right back up. But something else happened to the 177 that's caused them to fall off a little bit. But like I said, now that they're all three together, this is a three-way fight for the sixth place position. Now, I'm not a fortune teller, but I have a feeling the stewards are going to let that go because that was hard racing between these two. Matter of fact, here is the, oh my goodness! What on earth did I, what?
I think you just witnessed a murder, Jesse. That was, I
What just
can't see
happened
the
there?
stewards letting that one go. I mean, obviously,
did Luna break on a straight, or what was, I have no idea what I just saw. That looked so strange.
I think it was just one of those discrepancies between cars. Obviously, maybe the BMW needing to be driven differently through this sequence of corners or corners interspersed with straights, and the McLaren obviously just being much stronger through this section can obviously break a lot later as we almost see it again with the McLaren just seeming to be better on its brakes than the BMW, and that is something I've heard a handful of times actually, that the BMW just, it's a good car to drive, but it's just very weak on the brakes. As we see Dove tucked right up behind Luna, pretty much nose to tail, is going to go for the inside now, has a little bit of a hip check. These two seeming to be glued to one another, but yeah, no, I'd say no harm, no foul for that one. Dove had every right to the inside of the corner there. I think Luna may have just tried the old cutback, but maybe wasn't anticipating the length of the McLaren, because it is quite a long boy, that car.
That was very aggressive driving by Dove, you have to say. And of course, it was no love lost between Dove and Luna, as that was a very physical fight between the two of them. But it is going to be a frustrating day for Luna here, as this might knock them off of the podium, and that'd be unfortunate, chasing a third consecutive. But they have a drive-through penalty, and considering I don't have any more reports, I'm going to assume that is for track limits, and so is the one for the 888 behind as well. That is 5 track limits penalties today, and 2 really close together. And racing the way that they all were, I'm not really surprised.
Yeah, did you call 5, Jesse?
I said we'd probably see 5, yeah.
Yeah, so, well, if you're right, then it means that you win the bet, and I get the entire contents of your bank account and the next paycheck.
I don't think that's how that works. I think you need to relook at your contract. But look at it this way. I know Luna and Johnson are going to be frustrated. I'm curious what the stewards will say about that huge punt that Dove gave when Dove did dive down the inside. I had to get that in there. I'm curious what that's going to end up as, but at least Luna and Johnson still have somebody to race. They're going to be racing each other. It's going to be for several positions back from where they were, I think. But yeah, because they're still in pit lane. Remember, they came in pit lane. We saw them. They're still in there, just now getting back to the track, and they're right behind Fox. So yeah, they both lost a couple of spots there.
So I'm trying to think, who were they? I can't think what cars they were around to sort of know how far back they've
Well,
fallen.
remember,
But
they were up where Dove was. They were seventh and eighth. And oh, a little bit of a shunt there. Alice Horton will not appreciate that from Sophie Erwin. But it's interesting that Erwin's trying to get back in front of Horton here. Horton still has to pit. So Erwin would like to get back around. Alice Horton not interested in letting Erwin by.
yeah, because I mean, well, at the end of the day, even though they are on different strategies, they're still racing one another. So, you know, no need to give up a position just because the car behind you is pitted and is technically ahead of you. You know, make them work for it. I mean, I can't see anything wrong with this personally. Frustrating, absolutely. But yeah, nothing wrong. And we see a flash of lights there from Sophie Erwin saying, "We're on different strategies. Let me past."
Some of you in the YouTube audience may have heard an alarming sound. We do apologize. That's not a us thing. OL has had several big offs today. I think that's the first one in turn, what is that, 4, I think. Usually, L's had issues on the opposite end of the track at the dog leg at the back straight, but having a huge crash into the fence. But we do apologize for the very loud banging sound that you heard a few moments ago. That's an ACC thing. That's nothing on our end. Nobody has a one of those sound box things.
There you go.
Yeah, it was. It's just when the audio in ACC lags behind, it catches up with a very sudden, loud sound. There's nothing we can do about that. We do apologize if that startled you at home. Luckily, Nate, this time I didn't have this sound on, so I didn't get startled this time. So I was very confused. Everybody was reacting to something I didn't hear, but that's certainly what did happen.
Yeah, I think the first time it happened to me, if I remember, it was Nürburgring. Me and you were commentating DDC, Jesse, and it scared the life out of me. How I did not swear down the microphone, I will never know. But yeah, terrifying. It's such a loud noise. But if anyone had fallen asleep, welcome back. You're here watching DDC with myself and Jesse, and we deliberately did that to wake you up.
You know how Beethoven used to put very large crescendos in his symphonies to wake people up because the toffs were falling asleep mid symphony. That's why there's like sudden loud sounds in music. I think Beethoven's the one that popularized that. I could be wrong about that. I'm not about my classical history, but gotcha. But anyway, we do continue the final 8 minutes of the race. Ada Rose still hasn't pitted. Neither has Alice Horton. Everybody else has come down the pit lane. As the 66 now chasing down Carlsvard for 8th place. 69 Ferrari has regained a bunch of spots here. And if I was April, after that huge slide and a couple of scary moments, I'd be pretty okay with this, even if Luna gets by me. It doesn't really matter. It's not in that class. We do have a 15-second penalty on the board, and that was from something I don't have a report for, I've just noticed. But I do have a racing incident between the 177 and the 60, and a warning for car 66 for diving down the inside of the 177, causing contact. 15-second penalty for car 177 for taking out the 66 with position return. That on lap 27, turn 14.
So, Jesse, just to help you out there, the 202's penalty was for contact with car number 11.
Oh, is that still that penalty?
Yes.
Okay, so they did not serve that penalty. That must have come after their oh, yeah, that would have done, wouldn't it? Come after their pit stops. That's why they still have that. That penalty from literally 30 minutes ago. That's why I didn't think it could possibly be the same penalty, but there you have it.
It is indeed the same penalty, Mr. Lee.
Close racing here. April Carlsvard going to get shifted out of the way, basically. Johnson tried to go. Oh, no! Coming back was Carlsvard. Heavy contact with Johnson, and Luna's going to get through, and so is another car in the background, probably. Oh, just refused to let Johnson muscle them out of the way. Was that the leader that just went through, actually? That might have been the leader, because this is still Luna behind. So I'm pretty sure that was Rose, the leader, who was lapping this group, who snuck through there. That would have been scary to see through the windscreen.
No, Rose is behind this pack at the moment, so I don't know which BMW that is up ahead. Was that?
I mean, folks, we do. So it's probably Acosta. Acosta is a lap off the pace, but here, and Luna did get in front of Carlsvard on that occasion, but now has driven off the track and is coming to a brief halt there before returning to the circuit. So, yes, so Acosta was in front, Luna was there as well, and Rose was coming up behind. So all three Queens Design BMWs were somewhere near that contact, but very much not in the order they appear on the left side of your screen.
Yeah, that was a bit confusing, wasn't it? I was sort of like, wait, there's multiple BMWs, but nobody's getting positions. What's happening? So
Queen's Design, next season, love your cars, all right? Absolutely lovely. Maybe a color-coded strip, depending on who's in the car.
Like the F1 roll hoop, yellow for number
yes,
one, orange for number two.
Like that. Food for thought. Love seeing a massive team involved, but maybe a designation color-coded strip or something.
Please assist us.
We're not very smart, as we've proven on several occasions. Alice Horton continuing to fight and be fought by everybody in this field. Alice still holding their ground in this race. So is Nicole Fox, 15-second penalty, but Nears makes no difference, still gets the pass done. Less than 5 minutes to play. Anor has been down the pit lane and is clear still by 27 seconds. Erwin lost a ton of time on that pit stop, mind you, and is 7 seconds or so behind. One more look at this earlier contact between Sarah Johnson and Carlsvard. Now that was physical.
Yes, it was. However, I wouldn't put that on the 888, strangely enough. It looked like that the 69 of Carlsvard actually was moving over to take the racing line for that corner, but obviously the 888 was still there, and that's what caused the contact. Obviously, the stewards will have a look at it. Excuse me. We'll have a look at it and see what the outcome is, but I personally would not put that on the 888.
Acosta making a pass on Marsh there. Up to 13th place is the 40 BMW. And back to Carlsvard here. We're going to take another longer look at this. Johnson dives down the inside. Yeah. So that was the beginning of that. That was a crossover. And then I just felt like April just refused to concede that position there into the next corner. I again, not a steward, but they might be willing to let that go because Johnson held on to it and nothing of value was lost, even though that was very physical.
Yeah, I do think that was just a racing instant. But yeah, we'll wait and see.
Jake, that is a very scary camera angle. Shame on you. Made me jump out of my seat. I thought there was going to be contact there. Jedi Jake, the Bosmeister Boswell, playing tricks on me here. Well, what can you say about Anal Rose? We started the show talking about Rose the very same way. Looks like they're going to go 5 for 5 and 8. They probably have 2 to go this time through, and they do. But just an absolute rout this championship by Anal Rose.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just been we haven't seen the car very often because it's just been so far ahead. We've had no real reason to talk about them until they're actually coming through back markers, and then it's sort of like, oh no, here's Anal Rose. Make sure that you don't get taken out by the back markers. It's they've sort of stuck it on pole, walked away, not really had to fight anyone. Um, I'm sure I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Very, very Sebastian Vettel-esque from, was it 2011, 2012, when that car he was in was an absolute monster, and he would sort of turn up, put it on pole, get the win, and it was sort of like, there was a race that happened in between you pole positioning and winning the race, but you didn't see it because you were so far ahead.
Well, the 69 has become our 6th victim of track limits today, a drive-through for that car. Racing incidents all up and down the board between the 177 and the 66. A warning for car 714, a racing incident between the 69 and the 202. Warning for car 888 and a racing incident between the 69 and the 888. And I know the stewards are still busy. They're looking at a few more things that we have also seen in this race. Coming up on the final lap of the race, a couple of positions still yet to be shaken out. And as if almost on cue, Nate, the Silver Championship continues to mystify and will go to what is essentially a sudden death round number 6. Winner take all at the 90-minute finale in 1 week's time.
Oh, so can we make more Formula One references?
You can if you really mind, yes.
Well, I mean, maybe I'll save them for next race, but so just want to clarify. You're saying, Jesse, it's a winner-takes-all showdown at the final event.
You are correct about that, and I can guarantee you there will not be a late safety car in that race, so you're completely fine.
We're terrible.
I think we're absolutely brilliant. We're cracking ourselves up. We hope you at home have enjoyed this race, and if you had, on the way out, like, subscribe, hit the bell for more GT racing content. I'll be back with you with Ryan Mawson this Saturday, and this race is very close indeed as Horton just gets passed by Johnson here, coming to get what I know. This isn't the checkered flag for these cars. These cars are all going to get one more lap. Look at this, how this battle shook out. Blood in the water for Sarah Johnson. It's just going to dive down the inside of Horton. I feel like Horton kind of facilitated that a little bit, though.
Yeah, you definitely would have seen it coming. Horton did kind of stick to one side, but all Horton really needs to do is stay within 5 seconds of Johnson and within 15 of Fox, and that's 2 positions for 3. Maybe that's why she's not fighting it too hard, because there's no real need to.
Well, these cars on the last lap, Anal Rose has won a 5th race in a row, and Yvonne is going to come to the line to win here and take it to round number 6. A win for Yvonne in the 147, and has a nice lead, but not an all too comfortable lead coming to the final race, but it's max points for Yvonne. Sophie Erwin comes home second, confirming the challenge that will be completed in 1 week's time. Who will win that championship? We will have to find out, but this driver here showing everybody the way. Anal Rose dominant again today. Sarah Dove comes home in 4th place, but will likely be dropped down to 5th. Nears makes no difference, still 2nd in class. Fury April 2nd in silver. Fox 3rd in pro. O'Brien has pretty much led flag to flag as far as I'm aware, and has won in AM. Brock 2nd, and McKenna Santos has finished on the podium again. 3 out of the 5 races this season for the brand new rookie driver. They have finished on the podium. Somebody get her an esports contract now.
can hear the pen lids pop in, the envelopes being sealed. They're on their way, Jesse. I'll see to it personally.
It would have been 4 out of 5 had she not went to the beach 1 week ago as well. I'm sure she'd appreciate it if I stopped mentioning that. Ada Rose wins today. Yvonne had a 1 point championship lead coming into today. It will be a few more points today that they will gain, but that is not a safe gap from Sophie Irwin and some of the other drivers. Pretty much all 4 of the silver drivers that have a legitimate shot to win this championship left today with the same shot to win in 1 week's time, the 90-minute finale of Diamond Drive Season 3. It is going to be a very exciting affair. O'Brien did nothing but help their case for Am as well. We already know at this point Anal Rose is going to win the Pro Championship, but the question is, can Rose go a perfect 6 for 6 and do what nobody has ever done and get the brooms out for the sweep?
Well, of course, as mentioned earlier, be great to see, but I like coming into every event, every season, for whether it be Diamond Drive, like Porsche Cup that we had a while back, or any event that we host, going, I wonder if a driver this time is going to get the full house, the clean sweep. So most of me says yes, I hope Anor does it, but part of me says no, I hope she doesn't, because I for my own selfish reasons, I don't want that to happen.
What do you want me to not do?
And right on
Huh?
cue, we were just saying about that you could potentially be the first competitor in RCI to win every single race in a season. And obviously, part of me wants you to do that because it's a huge achievement, but part of me doesn't because I'm selfish. And I
Ah,
want to join every season going, I wonder who's going to do it this time.
that's an interesting prospect. Indeed.
But I think it would take something crazy for you to not win Imola.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I mean, considering how my race at Imola went in the first season, I'm not gonna predict anything. I think some people might remember that. So yeah.
But before we get carried away with going to Imola, let's focus here in Misano. Anor, another dominant victory. I think this has been by far the quickest I've seen you pull a lead to everyone else in the series. Is there just something about Misano that you really enjoy, or was the car just dialed in? What happened today?
No, actually, I absolutely despise this track, and even more so with this car, because it's a brick, right? It looks like a brick. And believe me, it behaves like one at this track. You can feel it. It's horrible. It doesn't want to turn. It hates turning. It's not made for that.
Oh, so as under control and as cool as it seemed from the outside, inside the car, was there a lot of screaming, wanting it to be
Yeah.
over?
Yes. Absolutely. Like, I think during the last half of the race, my delta compared to my best lap was like 1.5 seconds. I've never seen that. It's horrible.
God, I wish my delta could always be that low. Ah, but well,
And
we
that was pretty much shared with my teammates, as you can see, as you could see during the race. Everything pretty much, nothing went to plan. Yeah, that was our first race at this track, so yeah, bit of a trial by fire, I guess.
you say nothing went to plan, yet you stuck it on pole, got the fastest lap, and won the race.
Yeah,
I
but I'm
don't
not
know.
happy with my performance. Let me be angry about this.
God, if that's a weekend not going to plan for you, I'm scared to see what it would look like when it does go to plan.
I mean, the previous races, we locked out the podium, and look where we are right now. Yeah, nothing went to plan.
Oh dear.
But now we come over to, well, the silver class winner and our second place overall. Yvonne, congratulations.
Thank you.
We all knew that you liked this track. You got scored a pole here not last season, but last time Diamond Drive was here. What is it about Misano that you just seem to click with?
Well, normally I have a bit more pace than today here, but I
Right.
don't
Okay.
know. If I know why I have a good pace here and do it in all the other tracks, my results will be a lot better.
What is it with everyone saying, "Oh yeah, my pace was slow here today"? Everyone went out
Yeah.
and did a really good job.
I came home
It's
just in
Misano,
time
Nate.
for the
It's
qualifying,
Misano.
and
It's Misano.
she's
So,
right.
oh yeah, because you obviously mentioned to everyone here that you would be a bit late. So you came home.
Yes,
So you're saying you've had no practice. You turned up, got
we
was it second or third in qualifying?
third, I think.
Third.
Yeah.
So no practice, third in qualifying, second in the race, and that's a bad performance. I
Well,
need to start having some bad days. Maybe I might start doing better.
well, Soph and I did some practice on Sunday evening, I think, and Monday we left and came back just now.
That's incredible. And but yeah, moving on, one place down, second in class, third overall, Sophie Erwin. We were well, congratulations, P3, P2, whichever way you want to look at it. Me and Jesse were briefly mentioning you at the start of the race that when you can get through lap one, you become an unstoppable force. Like,
When I can get through that one.
yeah, because normally, unfortunately, you do seem to find yourself either facing the wrong way or you have your nose parked inside another car, which generally isn't good for racing the rest of the event. But the last few races, you've kept your nose clean, stayed out of trouble, and you've been well nipping at the heels of the pro drivers. And here today, you scored an overall podium.
I'm very happy about that. Just disappointed it wasn't a place higher.
Everyone, right? One of you I talked to will be happy that
No.
you've done well. I know someone who is not going to be happy, and that is old Sarah VVV.
You just call Sarah Dove old.
No, as
I know,
figuratively,
she's a spring chicken.
spring chicken. But well, Dove, probably after last weekend, you may be hunting for redemption. Maybe didn't quite find it today.
Not really. No. I kind of didn't get the best of starts. I need to fix my my throttle pedal because it's not accurate. It keeps jumping around. Then my tires were all crappy, and Yvonne got ahead because the Bentley's insanely fast in
You're in,
straight line.
you're in a Bentley sandwich.
Yeah, and then Bentley sandwich, and then I just lost the rear in turn one, and then kind of got stuck behind Fury. I was like trying to get past, and then I was like, oh, I'll pit because then I'll have free air. And then I went into the pits, and it went up on the jacks, and instead of saying 3 seconds, it said 30 seconds because I forgot to turn the tires off.
Oh no! So you just had, well, essentially the biggest recovery drive
Yeah,
after probably what you considered a nightmare start. So if anyone has a reason to be unhappy out of everyone here, I'd argue it'd be you. But well done nonetheless. I think
that's I think that's one of my best recovery drives I've ever done. Because
yeah,
I
P4.
think I got like I think I gained like 30 seconds on the people that I was behind, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
I
you
think you
slowly
gained
picked it up.
10 seconds on me, I think.
Yeah, because
9 or 10, I
I
think.
came out of the pits 21 seconds behind Luna, and then I caught her up with like 15 minutes to go. So I was like, oh, this is a great drive. It's a shame I wasn't doing this the whole race.
Well, you've got next week to have double redemption for your two unfortunate races that have just happened. But
Yeah.
we move over now to fifth place overall, and well, the final podium in silver, Fury April. Fury, well, that was a much better race than what you potentially had at Monza. Did it feel okay inside the car, or are you about to tell me that it was awful and it was terrible, and you could have won the
I
entire race?
was about to say that I felt really slow in practice
Oh,
and
come on!
early in the weekend. I generally like Misano quite a lot. I've done well on this track in the past. I got my first win in RCI here on DBC last season. But the Ferrari just didn't like this track that much, and there was no chance against the pace of the Bentleys. I'm telling you, there's something going on with those cars. They are so fast here. But I finally got a clean race after two kind of bad performances and unlucky situations and getting caught up in incidents and getting penalties and that kind of stuff. I finally managed to do a clean race, and it paid off in the end. And I think I even got fourth overall in the end without getting a penalty.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, was it
Yeah.
fourth overall? Was
I
it?
was 1.4 seconds behind you.
Yeah.
Oh yes, it was.
I
That's right.
when I got out of the pits, you had caught up to me, even though you had a long pit stop. You managed to pass me after the pit stop I had because my pace was terrible and my tires were kind of gone. And I saw you going 2 seconds a lap faster than me after you got out. After I got out of the pits, and then I was behind me. The next car was like 30 seconds back. So I was just thinking to myself that I can just cruise along for the rest of the race. Then I saw you got the penalty, and I started driving like crazy, and then I pushed like crazy to keep that 15-second gap. It was really close. So I did a kind of bad mistake at one point and lost 1.5 seconds.
Oh,
Just a mistake. So it was really close.
yeah.
So just before I hand it over to our man Jesse Lee, we again were talking in the box about where some cars were strong and others might not be. Obviously, I think we could all establish that the Bentley was mega on the back straight. But did the McLaren and the Ferrari, to an extent, being the mid-engine cars here, have the advantage in Sector 1 through the tight corners, or was it not as noticeable? And if you weren't ahead, the Bentley would just monster you down all the straights?
Apparently, I could a lot in the first sector, well, everywhere. And I gained, especially in the beginning, a lot of time on Seradov with a cutting and going early on the throttle.
And your motto is?
Yeah. But that was the Sarah before she messed up hugely. That's a different person.
Well,
Well,
I helped Sarah O'Brien a bit and Soph, and I said to them in the practice as a little tip, cut here, cut there, cut everywhere, but not too much. Because almost you can cut everywhere.
I don't know about the Ferrari, but it just felt really slidey and unstable throughout the
Yeah.
entire track. But I somehow managed to press it around. It wasn't too bad in the end.
Well, all I have to say is I love it when a bunch of drivers that finish inside a top five of a race, regardless of class, they say, "Oh, it wasn't that great." That's how you know that I'm a bad driver because I couldn't do that well, and I'd be somewhere bottom half of the field, and I'd be happy with that. But I will say it was a very physical race out there. A lot of body contact today.
Yeah. I think everyone was getting their elbows out.
Well, I didn't have any contacts.
That's because
I had one.
Sarah wasn't behind you.
Well, it was very well done, all things considered. And, well, one more round of the championship left to go. One final podium to get for all of the drivers involved. And, of course, a couple of championships to settle. That, the 90-minute finale in 1 week's time from Imola. And that being brought to you, the same crew, Nate, myself, and Jake the Bosmeister Boswell. And it's going to be a pivotal deciding round. Of course, no Thursday or Friday champ this week. They're off for the week as pre-qualifying is live for those championships. You can go to our website, racerci.com, get all the information on how to sign up for those championships and get involved with racing. Join the Discord, join the website, get involved with RCI Racing. You don't have to be a spectator. You can be a driver, and we'd love to see you in an upcoming race this coming season. Of course, on Saturday, we do have the continuation of the Night Out Championship, Ryan Mawson and myself. And on Monday, Ryan Gill and John Dalton, in association with Brian Mawson, bring you the continuation of the Monday Asia Masters Championship. And of course, we'll be right back with you here on Wednesday for the Diamond Drive Cup in 1 week's time. A big thank you to all of our partners that make this race and every race possible. Racedepartment.com, your source of sim racing news and information. AK Informatica for providing our server solutions. Driver 61, you get 25% off your driver coaching by going to driver61.com and using our discount code, link in the description. Fanatec.com, the authority on sim racing hardware, and simracing.gp. If you're tired of the pub racing scene, join simracing.gp and join a community today. It's free to sign up, and we would love to see you in our community and several of the communities that do daily and weekly racing on there as well. Well, on behalf of the entire broadcast crew here, it's been another crazy day in the Diamond Drive Cup. The only thing that makes it sweeter is we've got one more round left to go. But until then, we'll see you next time.